Welcome to Guitar Gavel, a place for people who love guitars. These are conversations with musicians, guitar enthusiasts, techs, and collectors about their guitar journey and their love of the instrument. Thanks for tuning in. Please hit the subscribe button, share with your friends, and be sure to sign up for our twice weekly newsletter at guitargavel.com. Hey everybody, David still here. Welcome to the Guitar Gavel podcast number 7 with Steve Doyle. I am tickled to death, man, to have him here. Steve is a buddy from LinkedIn, kind of been hanging out as a recurring theme if you've been listening to the podcast, going around and interviewing our little guitar community that's growing. It's not little anymore, or isn't little. From LinkedIn, so Steve's a LinkedIn buddy, man. He's joining the podcast from Ireland, so it's after his workday. It's the middle of the afternoon here on the East Coast. Steve, bro, thanks for your time, man. So glad you are here and great to meet you in person.
You too, my friend. Thank you so much. And hi, LinkedIn.
I know, man. This is so much fun, dude. So I kind of just lead in, same question, because it just gets everyone rolling, and then we'll just go from there, because this is a podcast about guitars and your story of your journey of playing the guitar and having fun with the guitar and loving guitars. That's what it's about. Don't have to be a great player to be on the podcast. It's not what it's about. But Steve's actually already plugged in, so he might get a little demo here after a while. But when did you first start playing? And what was your entry level? What was your first guitar when you started out?
I was 14 years of age. I got a lot of musical influences from my dad. My dad was a rocker as well, so he was kind of listening to all the Uriah Heep at the time, Black Sabbath, Iron Maiden when they're coming out. So I kind of got my influences from him. So he showed me my first song, "Knocking Heaven's Door" by Bob Dylan, G, D, and C, which is probably a lot of first guitar player chords. I started off when I was 14. So I was 14 when I started. So I love music. It's something I'm very passionate about, and particularly the rock and heavy metal would be my kind of genres to go to. I had a Les Paul copy. I can't remember what it was. I think it was a Chinese kind of replica guitar. It was matte black. It looked cool, in fairness. The action was terrible. It used to really, really hurt my fingers, because you had to press down really hard to get it. But it was a great guitar. Yeah, that was my first guitar, and my kind of first kind of chords, and my first kind of inspiration was my dad. So,
dude, I'll interject. So Steve and I were hanging out offline before we jumped on, and we're essentially the exact same age. So our musical tastes are the same, which is sweet. But so Guns N' Roses, huge fan, and one of my first songs was "Knocking on Heaven's Door," but Guns N' Roses version.
Yes.
And I actually, at that point, I was taking lessons, and I believe this to be true. I've never really gone back and looked, but there's also an A minor in there. The way so I'd go to my teacher, and he's like, "What?" And he wants to teach me theory, and we were talking about this before too. And I don't mean to hog your podcast time here, man. But he's like, "What do you want to learn?" I'm like, "Dude, I just want you to transcribe songs that I like. What are you talking about? I don't want to learn anything. I just want the tab." And he should have said, "No, I'm not going to do that. Like, I'm going to teach you some real theory." So I would just sit there, and I'd bring in my cassette tape, and we'd play the song that I wanted him to transcribe, and he would spend all of our time transcribing it, essentially, then hand me the sheet music, and I go practice it, or hand me the tab. So Guns N' Roses, "Knock on Heaven's Door." You were the Bob Dylan version. We're on the same page.
I remember I bought the tab book for that as well, and I couldn't get it to sound right. And what I didn't know was you actually tune a half step down.
Yeah.
Which I didn't actually realize at the time, because I had it in E standard, and I was like, I don't sound it. Why don't I like sound it? But then you actually drop a half step down, so which I didn't actually realize. So I thought I was reading the book wrong or something, but I didn't actually realize that till after. So
that's cool, man. And similar, you had a Les Paul copy. I had a Paul Reed Smith copy. Some super heavy, high action. I mean, it looked beautiful, all black. Pickups were black, headstock was black, everything, man. But it was a hunk of junk.
Absolutely, yeah. I love my studio. It is very, very heavy, in fairness. but that's what Gibsons are known for anyway. But I just love it. I've had it since 1997. It was kind of my first proper guitar. And again, I remember I seen Slash in '92, the VHS, and I didn't know what guitar he had, and he was like playing a Gibson, and I was like, okay, I want a Gibson like Slash. I want one of his guitars. But I just love it. It's a beautiful instrument to play.
So your dad, he was your big musical influence.
Correct. He was definitely the first one. Yeah, up to my teens, and
Okay.
then there was a rock bar in Dublin called Fibber McGee's, and I used to go there 4 nights a week. It was purely heavy metal and hard rock, so that was perfect for me. So I used to pray for Thursday, and work ends straight into Fibbers, and I started to really listen to things like Pantera. That was kind of new to me. Dream Theater was new to me. Megadeth was new to me. I knew a bit of Metallica, but then I kind of really started to get into the really heavier stuff. Like I'm a massive Megadeth fan. Marty Friedman and Dave Mustaine, like absolutely iconic duo guitar players. Probably the best duo. Personally, they're my favorite in fairness, but as a guitar player, Marty Friedman will easily be my favorite.
And so that was late teens, early 20s when you started getting into the club.
That was the really heavy stuff. Megadeth was actually my first gig, and Dave Mustaine was about 20 feet away from me. It was a gig in the SFX, and we don't have massive kind of arena venues kind of over here, but it probably had about 1,000 people, and I was literally at the very, very front, and Dave Mustaine was there. It was the classic lineup: Friedman, Ellefson, and Nick Menza, rest in peace. But that was an incredible gig. That was actually for the Euthanasia tour. I actually love that album, and that's a fantastic album. In fairness, I really like Euthanasia.
And so you're at that point, you've been playing for a few years, and you start going kind of all in on the metal.
Correct. It was always kind of the hard rock, then into the metal, absolutely. And then that was probably up to my 30s. I was kind of still listening to the same thing because I enjoy it so much.
Sure.
And I was in Australia, and I was about 30, and I picked up a CD by Dream Theater. It was Images and Words. It was only like $3 or something, so that's an absolute steal. So I had my little CD player, and I was listening to that, and that blew my mind. That was absolutely incredible. Now, this is musicianship on a whole new level. This was absolutely incredible, and everything was completely in unison. You know, when you hear a guitar solo, you generally have a piano solo or a bass solo at the same time. But these guys had 3 of them at the same time, and I had to just stop, pause, and think about it. And what just happened there? But it's not 4 or 5 bars. It goes on for like 15 minutes or something. It's just like a Change of Seasons is 22 minutes long. Like, it's only one song. It's just absolutely phenomenal. But the musicianship of Dream Theater, they're just on a whole different level, in fairness.
What so let's fast forward to current day and age. This isn't a trick question. Are your musical taste or what you like to play the same? Like, so either that you like to listen to or that you like to play on the guitar the same as they were when you were in your 20s?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the kind of genres, I like a lot of progressive metal. As I said, Dream Theater would be the person I would go to there. I'm a massive Arion fan as well. The Human Equation, if you ever get a chance to listen to that, James LeBrie from Dream Theater actually sings on that. That is a phenomenal album. A little bit of death metal, Cemetery from Sweden. They're an amazing band. Godless Beauty and An Evil Shade of Grey. Oh, they are phenomenal albums. They are brilliant albums. And Cradle of Filth as well. I really like them. But they're kind of more extreme kind of metal. But like the lyrics and the stories of Cradle, absolutely incredible, in fairness.
That's cool, man. You know, what I've found, at least personally, and among my friend group, in that we all still love, of course. I mean, typically most people, you always love what you first came to know. So Guns N' Roses, Metallica for me, and you know, you and I are coming of age. We're coming out of that era of metal and rock and roll into grunge, into Pearl Jam and Nirvana and Smashing Pumpkins. At least in the United States, that's what was really big. But we're teenagers, and it's like we're coming out of this all of a sudden into that, and it's night and day. So I'm just a big hodgepodge of mess.
It was the very same here. Pearl Jam was massive. The 10 album, that was huge. Nirvana was massive here as well. Soundgarden, there was definitely the 3 or 4 big American ones kind of transpired to be over here as well. So my wife is actually a big kind of grunge kind of fan. I never kind of went down the grunge route. I like, Jeremy. That's a great song by Pearl Jam. Rearview Mirror. That's a great hook. But I've always kind of leaned towards the heavy metal and the kind of the more progressive side of it. So it's not to say it's not bad. It's just it's not for me. I don't particularly like it. So, but that's the great thing about music, is that you can have an opinion about it. But as I said earlier on, it's the originality that I appreciate. I mightn't like the music, but I appreciate that someone went off and wrote their own lyrics and that they put their own chords to it or their melody or something. So even though I mightn't like it personally, I can appreciate the fact that they went off and wrote it and had the braveness, I suppose, to put it out there, which has to be admired in all fairness, I think.
Yeah, and I was kind of going with that was my tastes have changed a little bit. I didn't know if yours, as we've gotten older, tend to mellow out oftentimes. But man, when it comes to music, like, man, I like it just as loud as I did when I was 14,
absolutely.
when I was 16, and I've gone through definitely some genre changes, kind of a couple of iterations over the last 15 years. And which is totally fine. I think that's perfectly natural, but there's something about the music that captures your heart when you're a young guy or a teenager and speaks to you in that moment in time. You can't, unless that's just a bad moment and you want to compartmentalize and erase those years from your life, that's one thing. And that does happen to people, but otherwise it's what you're always going to love.
Absolutely. No, I totally agree. Like I still listen to Use Illusion 1 still 30 years later. I still listen to Countdown to Extinction. And the great thing about music is you go off and there's always something. I always find that if you listen to something, you listen to it again, I always miss something. I always miss something. It might be a little hammer-on or taps or something. And then you listen to it, actually I missed that the first time. And you go back, well, what else did I miss? And before you know it, you listen to an album. I probably listened to Countdown to Extinction probably 50 or 60 times, easy. And it's kind of like every time I hear it, I kind of hear something new all the time, or it's always fresh, which is what music should be, because it's just what it should be. It should always be fresh, because I think it's when you start getting stale, it's kind of maybe you should look at it then or don't enjoy it, because you should never do something you don't enjoy. So whereas I still love listening to Slash, November Rain 25, 30 years later, it's just iconic music that will just last forever. And I think that to be around it when I was only just a kid, seeing them growing up, it's phenomenal. In fairness, it's just the power of music. And for me, the music, being a rocker, or it's kind of like, it's a real, I don't know in America, but in Ireland, it's kind of a real community kind of feel to it. We go into a rock bar, everyone talks to everybody, and it's just how you doing, and we talk about different band shirts, and we talk about different bands we like and stuff. And that's what I really, really love about the music that we listen to. It's a real community kind of spirit to it, and I think that values it an awful lot as well. I think
it does. And what you were talking about, how listening to a song X amount of times, how you pick up on new things, and some of that is, if you're a musician, or no matter what level you're at, but if you play an instrument, and as you get older and your ear becomes better trained, you start picking up on subtleties that you had not heard before. And then too, in terms of the lyric, I think a lyric that speaks to you and to the same song, but the lyric speaks to you this way for this time in your life, can speak to you a completely different way for another time in your life, though they're equally as relevant. It's that is the beauty of music, and it's also the beauty of what you ingest and how you want to perceive it too.
Totally, I totally agree. If you listen to, say, Megadeth Symphony of Destruction, like, so not only is that has a great hook, the lyrics are amazing as well. So not only do we have like Dave Mustaine, who is an absolute legendary guitar player, he's a brilliant lyricist as well. So once you have like a fantastic hook, and then you have your lyrics to back it up, meaningful lyrics, it's a whole new world. It really is absolutely incredible.
For the longest time, I just really listened to melody over lyrics. So there could be, and I can't off the top of my head, I wouldn't be able to give you a good example of a song that is maybe like a really sad lyric to it, and it was a very, this artist is really wearing their full raw emotions on their sleeve, and it's intense and it's serious and it's deep, and I'm just like digging the melody, like not even listening to the lyrics. Like, oh man, this person's going through X, Y, and Z. What a terrible time. I'm just hearing the melody, like, oh, this is great. This is great. I don't care about the lyric. And
Yeah,
that's
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Neither do I. I think that if you can get a balance of the two of them, it just kind of increases your musical value. I think, to have lyrics that actually mean something, or
Yes.
that to mean different things to different people. It's just incredible. So, like for example, In My Darkest Hour by Megadeth, he wrote that about Cliff Burton dying, and so many people related that because obviously someone has lost someone in their life. It's an incredible lyric, and it's a great piece of music. And that's, yeah, once you have kind of a meaning to it as well, so you have your melody and backed up by a lyric that genuinely means something, I think that's absolutely incredible. I think.
Yeah, and unstoppable too. I mean, you just can't.
I
You
totally
can't.
agree.
Yeah, yeah. Well, cool. All right. Well, we'll jump back to your guitar story. So, metal and Slash certainly has an impact, and so we were talking a little, beforehand as well. And I'm glad you didn't finish the story, so it's fresh to me here. Talk about what you've got in your arms, and you got that stateside
I
as well.
did. I
So
got
you
in
got a good
Orlando.
story. Yeah.
It's a Les Paul Studio. I don't know if you can probably see it there.
Yeah, let's see. I'll make you full screen.
Yeah, so that's my guitar baby there. So I have it back 2 weeks. I had a problem with the input jack; it wasn't working, so I got new strings, and I got her restringed as well. So I bought it in 1997. I was in America, in Orlando, and I mentioned Slash as well. So I found out Slash had a guitar. So I went into Guitar Center. It was just off International Drive, and I think it was Guitar Center, and they just had walls and walls of guitars. I couldn't believe it, because being in Ireland, we don't have kind of warehouse worth of stuff. We just don't have it. Whereas in America, you'd obviously have the capacity to do it. But I remember the gold, the metallic gold was kind of sitting on the wall, and I kind of just gravitated towards that one. And I was like, oh my God, that's the one that Slash had. I want to have that one. So I noticed that there wasn't a price tag on it. So I was like, I'm probably not going to be able to afford this one now, in fairness. So it turns out it was $3,500, and I had a budget of $1,500. So we kind of, in fairness, they were very, very good. Like, we kind of went through some choices and stuff, and there was no binding on it. So I didn't know what binding was. It didn't make a difference to me. I just kind of wanted an American-made Gibson guitar. And I was like, okay, that kind of looks very Slash, in fairness. So I love it to bits. It's completely standard. I've done nothing with it. I'm kind of a guy that just, if it's not broken, don't fix it kind of thing. So
Yeah.
the only thing was, I put Grover machine heads on it. That's literally the only thing I've done, but it's completely stock standard. And that's it. So, yeah, I'm just kind of like that. I'm not a very technical kind of player. I don't have any effects. It's literally just my guitar and my amp. That's literally all I have. So, but yeah, we make some noise out of it, and you got to just enjoy what you do, in fairness. But the second guitar player that really made an influence on me then was Marty Friedman, as I said. So I was like, okay, he has an iconic guitar. What does he have? So I have a Jackson Kelly as well. And I forget about that an awful lot, because my studio it's just my go-to guitar. So
Yeah.
what I didn't know, changing the strings, was that it actually upset the Floyd Rose, which I didn't know, and I can't get the strings to balance correctly. So it was my own fault. I actually didn't know. So I'm going to bring it in. But that's a phenomenal guitar. It's a lot lighter. It's easier to play, because obviously playing this, it's very, very heavy. So I got kind of a heavy duty strap put on it. So when I got it back, I can actually play it for longer standing up, because most of the weight's taken by the strap, which is good, in fairness. It's just a beautiful guitar. It's my guitar, but it's just very, very heavy. That's the only thing about it. So I know with the modern weight relief, I think came out in the last number of years, but I actually haven't played a modern weight relief guitar. Have you?
No, I have not. And I was going to ask.
So
when you brought it back, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. Did you carry it on the plane with you, or did
Yeah.
you? Yeah, yeah. You weren't letting it go in the cargo compartment, huh?
No, I
Yeah,
was terrified going through customs because you're supposed to declare it over a certain value.
yeah,
And
yeah.
no matter what I do, I'm always stopped through customs. No matter where I go, I always am. And I kind of had I was like, please don't take my guitar. Please don't take my guitar. So we just walked through. So he actually scanned my bag. No, there was nothing on it, obviously. So, and then we got through. So I was like, okay, now I know I'm home free. So yeah, but they would be my go to guitars. But I just love my studio.
That's great, man. Well, you've got it plugged in. You don't. I'm not going to put you on the spot. You don't have to play by any means. But you said, if there was something to help tell your metal story.
I think
Feel
for me, the Megadeth definitely Symphony of Destruction, which is such an iconic. It's an iconic riff. And that's strange because he stops and starts, and that really helps with the timing because that's a phenomenal riff. Because like a lot of riffs, so let's say if Slayer were doing it, they might go like something like that. That'd be a very Slayer riff, but they stop and start, and I was like, wow, like because I didn't know it was Megadeth at the time, and that hook had me completely. I was completely sold then. And I asked the barman, I says, who is that? And he says, that's Dave Mustaine. And I was like, Dave Mustaine from Metallica. And I was like, I prefer this guy. This guy is amazing. But it's the chorus to it. The chorus, it's just that chorus. I would listen to that all day. It's just a phenomenal chorus, with the singing and the double harmonies and everything. It's just superb. And that one song alone had me just hooked. And that was the end of it then. And
the
the
beginning of
musical
the
kind
end.
of
Yeah.
journey was like it's just been Megadeth. I'm really really looking forward to the new album, The Sick, the Dying, and the Dead. So it's been delayed again. I think it's out in the summer, but I'll be pre-ordering that one. So Dave released some kind of snippets, and it sounds really, really good. It sounds really heavy and aggressive. So, I'm really looking forward to this one.
What if money was no option? Do you have a list of guitars you would like to have in your
It would,
possession?
yeah,
Or
it would be the Slash Gold Metallic. That's
yeah,
the answer to that one. Absolutely. Yeah, I think that would definitely be the one kind of guitar. I think it's just iconic, particularly just with Slash and the color, the way it shines in the light. It's just phenomenal. It's just I probably wouldn't even play it. I'd probably just look at it and just do nothing with it. It's like having a Lamborghini or something. You'd be afraid you'd scratch it, so just look at it. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
So that would be would be kind of the guitar for me. Absolutely.
yeah.
Also like the new Jackson MF, the Marty Friedman version. I really really like that as well. The black body with the white bevel. That looks really really nice now as well.
What in terms of your stores there, and I know you mentioned you don't have the big like warehouse stores that we have here in the U.S. What are kind of the flavor of the guitars that are in there? Are they mostly European? A lot of American guitar? I mean, or it could just be a lot of Japanese guitars. But do you think it? I'm not articulating this well. Would go back to your visit in the United States when you bought this guitar, minus the fact that you were in a gigantic guitar center? Is the variety of guitars there in Ireland in a store? I know it's smaller scale. Is it similar, or is it stuff that we would really not know very well here in the US?
Yeah, it would you would have the branded stuff. They don't really play Gibson anymore, because they're just too expensive. To find out people they couldn't afford them really. So, there's a guitar store in Dublin called Walton's. They have a lot of Dean guitars. There's a lot of Jacksons, a lot of Ibanez. X Music would deal primarily in Ibanez guitars. Kind of acoustic guitars, they're very popular. Takamine, Taylor, obviously expensive, but a lot of the kind of acoustic guitars would be very very popular. A lot of Spanish guitars,
Okay.
just because they're easy to carry around, you don't have to plug them in or anything. You just kind of go away and plug them in. So, like we wouldn't be able to. Like I wouldn't be able to probably buy a Gibson Les Paul standard off a shelf. I'd have to probably go off and go to Toman or something and probably
Yeah.
maybe get it from Germany or something. So kind of in that way, yeah, we are limited, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, I mean, but it's sometimes not having too much variety is a good thing. Limits
Except
the
it's
options.
guitars
Well, any other category besides guitars.
and
What,
motorcycles as well. Yeah, yeah,
and look,
yeah, yeah. So
so on that list, are there many Martin acoustics there?
there would be a few. I've actually never played them because the first thing I always do is just give me an electric guitar, plug it in,
Yeah,
and away I go. So I haven't played that many electrics, but they would be popular. Yeah, they would be popular.
yeah,
I wouldn't be able to tell you a brand. I wouldn't be able to tell you different models and stuff. Because I don't really kind of follow the acoustic kind of part of it. I'm much more of an electric guitar player, so kind of plug it in and get your distortion and let the chaos begin, kind of thing.
yeah.
So
Yes, yeah. No, since you mentioned Taylor is popular, I didn't know if Martin was
yeah,
one too.
Taylor Takamine as well. They would be
Yeah,
very popular, very expensive, but again, it's kind of like when you're playing your Gibson, you can kind of tell its quality. You can tell it's expensive, but you can tell it's handmade. You can tell it's handcrafted, and nothing but the best has gone into it. So yeah, you can just sometimes it's just better off getting the extra money, like
yeah, yes. Trust me. What so you kind of going back to kind of your club experience, and then hearing Megadeth for the first time. Would you say when you heard Megadeth, is that kind of one of your clearly was pivotal in your love for Megadeth, and you were already a metalhead at that point. Was there any other experience, maybe seeing a band live or hearing a riff for the first time or a song for the first time that was also kind of pivotal in your journey and what you love to listen to and try to play?
For me, it would probably Guns N' Roses' November Rain. Oh, what a phenomenal track. We actually got married to November Rain. We actually got engaged to it, and it was our first song at our wedding. And I actually met Duff McKagan twice. He was actually signing his book in Ireland, and we
Wow.
actually got to meet him. And oh, what a phenomenal guy now, in fairness. But I think if there was one guy you'd want to go out with a beer with, it's probably would be still Slash now, in fairness. But Duff was such a nice guy. He was like 6 foot. He was completely towering up because I'm only 4 foot nothing. So I have a photograph and I'm kind of looking like this. But he was such a nice guy, in fairness. So my wife, I can play a bit of bass as well, and my wife said, could you have a plex? Could you give my husband a plex? So I actually have the plectrum that he actually played the gig on in Dublin, which is like how cool is that? In fairness, so and that was amazing. So I read his book, and those guys really, really lived the rock and roll lifestyle. In fairness, they really, really did, and it's such iconic riffs. Because you went from the track before that was Double Talk and Jive. When
Yeah.
that's a fantastic guitar solo. And so they kind of went from that. Then you went to November Rain, so that was kind of completely mellow. It was just like a complete shock. And then like you end with Coma. I mean, that's a fantastic song. They wrote so much iconic riffs. Um, Locomotive. I mean, the end of that, just A minor and F. That's all it is. The end part was phenomenal. It's just incredible. There's just been so many iconic riffs. I mean, obviously, Stairway to Heaven, Hotel California. I'd be literally here forever. But I think the one riff that really stuck out for me was the Symphony of Destruction. That was like, yeah, these guys are in town. These guys really mean something. So as I said, it was my first gig. Nick Menza done a drum solo. He shook the floor. It was an intimate gig. There's probably about 1,000 people there, and like Marty Friedman, he was only about 20 feet away. Dave Mustaine was singing in the middle. That was my first gig. I was standing right up by the amp. I couldn't hear a thing for about 4 days. But I couldn't. I went to school the next day. I was just like nodding. Yeah, I understand. You understand. I had no idea what was going on. I just had a smile from ear to ear. So, I've seen Metallica. I've seen Guns N' Roses. I've seen Cradle of Filth. They put on a great show now. In fairness, they were kind of. I really really like them. I love Danny Filth's lyrics are absolutely amazing. Cruelty and the Beast, the concept album from start to finish, that's an amazing album. Midian, that's a fantastic album as well. But again, a bit like Dave Mustaine with his lyrics, Danny Filth with his lyrics and the music been so extreme. I absolutely love it. So my mom looks at me and I'm like, how can you listen to that? And I was like, oh, this is absolutely brilliant. In fairness, like, you know, so you got to just love your music and your genres. Like, you know, it really is phenomenal stuff.
Dude, I was thinking when I saw Guns N' Roses, it's been a few years. Um, and of course, Duff, right? I mean, all those guys in and out of rehab and
Oh,
made it
yeah,
and lived. But
absolutely.
Duff, yes, he looks like a beast, man. He's like shredded. He must hit the gym in between, tour stops.
Yeah. And
And yeah,
he was so nice. He was just so easy to get on with. And we just kind of had a laugh and a joke. And I told him we got married to November Rain. He's like, yeah, cool, dude. You know, and we had a photo, like, you know, it was cool. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like the guys have to selling like 120 million albums. And I'm like, this is just awesome. It's just brilliant in fairness, like, you know, but he was such a nice lad in fairness. And I seen Marty Friedman live. Um, that was a very small, intimate gig as well. I was right at the front for that one as well. And he left Megadeth at the time. And he was playing the riff to Tornado of Souls. And I was like, that riff sounds familiar. And then he went off and played his solo which is often voted like, you know, probably the best metal solo of all time, Tornado of Souls. I think I'd agree there. Particularly the running bit at the end is just absolutely incredible. So again, like Marty Friedman was only 10 feet from me as well. And he was absolutely shredding as well. But like, oh my God, like the musicianship from that as well was just top notch. It really was absolutely phenomenal. Have you listened to Cacophony? Have you heard of them?
no, I'm gonna take a
Oh my
note.
God, Marty Friedman and Jason Becker. That's phenomenal stuff. They have 2 albums. Go Off was good. That was good. Speed Metal Symphony is absolutely incredible. That's an amazing album, start to finish. It's just completely awesome.
Sweet, it's written down, added to
Just
my playlist.
absolutely. A tiny bit of death metal as well. Cemetery from Sweden. Their first 2 albums were amazing. Godless Beauty and An Evil Shade of Grey. Now, An Evil Shade of Grey, it's said what it's on the box. It is evil personified, but it's absolutely amazing.
Cool. And we were talking about Cemetery earlier, so they're on the list as well. Don't have
Yeah,
to make a note.
amazing stuff. And
Weird. Yeah.
Arion as well. Have you heard of Arion?
Mm-mm.
He's a Dutch composer. He wrote some absolutely incredible stuff. The Human Equation, that is a fantastic album. He has guest people on his albums all the time. James Labrie from Dream Theater sings on it. It's a concept album. I love music set to stories, and it's about a guy and he's in a car crash and he's in a coma, and he's trapped in his own mind, and the whole thing is just phenomenal from start to finish. So you have rock, folk, metal. It's all these different genres, and it's each day as like a different day in his head. Like, it's just completely phenomenal. So I sat there for 2 hours, literally following all the lyrics as he was trying to wake up again, and it's just absolutely mind blowing stuff. It's just if you get a chance to listen to it, it's absolutely incredible.
That's great. And I've got it written down now as well. I'm starting to fill up my sheet.
Good. That's a good complaint now, in fairness. You can never have too many, in fairness.
So, and we'll kind of end it here in a minute on kind of a guitar note. Your bucket list was clear without delay. The Les Paul, the
Absolutely.
Slash, the Gold Top. Which version was it?
The metallic gold.
Yeah. Excuse me.
Stunning. Yeah, absolutely. Without a doubt, that'll be easily my favorite. Absolutely.
Do you and you can just stop there, but do you have like a number 2 or 3 if you were chasing one?
Probably the Jackson Kelly DMF, the Marty Friedman. Yeah, that was an amazing looking guitar as well. The black with the white bevel, that's incredible. Yeah, I think they would definitely be my go-to. But if I had one, it would be the metallic gold. All day, every day. Fantastic, absolutely amazing.
It's so funny, man. We are just our whole generation. Well, at least in our world, Slash did it. It did us in for Les Paul. I mean, there's no way
he done it, but they done it their way as well. And I mean, their first ever gig was in front of 6 people, you know, and like they could have gave up, but didn't. In fairness to them, they just kind of kept going, and they were trying to get to a gig in Seattle, and they broke down, and something that went against them actually turned out to be good because it really solidified how much they all wanted it. So something that was a bad situation turned out to be really, really good, because it really solidified, we really, really want this. And no matter what we're going to do, we're going to get to that gig. And just rockers are just like that. We just won't give up, which is a great trait, in fairness.
I was reading an article as a teenager. It was probably like Guitar World or something. It was it was Slash, and I'll tell you, it was a bit intimidating and a little it wasn't encouraging, because Slash was talking about, and I might be making this part up, but he dropped out of high school or whatever, not an unusual story for a rocker, and he was practicing 8 to 10 hours a day. I'm Absolutely. Like, oh, that's how you get that good.
Absolutely. If you look at, like, I mentioned Dream Theater already, but John Petrucci as well, those Majesty guitars. I haven't played Majesty. I would like to try one of them. They are they're incredible looking guitars as well. He does have his own line as well, the John Petrucci, the Majesty. They are phenomenal looking guitars as well, in fairness. But as I said, you wouldn't really get one of them in Ireland. You'd have to order one. But like, again, John Petrucci and Dream Theater, like, you might have maybe one band member who is maybe weaker than the rest, but it's just pure top musicianship. There's no weak links there at all. They're just all incredibly proficient musicians. It's absolutely incredible. Absolutely.
Dude, there is magic, and then there's tenacity and determination Absolutely. And grit and all of those things combined. And then, hey, look, for some of these guys, or however many guys and girls, natural talent, a natural ear, some of this, it could, and then, but the rest is just how hard do you want it? How bad do you want it? How hard do you want to work?
You mentioned there at 8 and 10 hours. I think Malmsteen was 12, 14 hours every day. Another phenomenal player as well. Like, he really carved out the whole kind of neoclassical music. He just owns that, really. And Symphony X as well. Have you heard of Symphony X? Mm-hmm. Oh, that's the Odyssey. Oh, the Symphony X, the Odyssey. It actually starts off with a 25-minute instrumental orchestra, and it's just absolutely mind-blowing stuff. The Odyssey, an amazing album. Symphony X, incredible.
Dude, this is awesome. Well, Steve, this has been a blast. Clearly, we could go on for about 4 more hours, or you can go on, because here's my sheet list there, my notes down here and scribbled up there. So for everyone, if you need to go back and also take some notes from what Steve said, you've got playlists for about the next week.
At least. And that's a good complaint. You can never have too much rock music, in fairness.
No, you can't. I'm so glad that you've shared all this list and what you love. And clearly what's so wonderful about it too, man, is the smile on your face and the passion in which you speak with. And what you like and what you know and what feels good, man. It's awesome. That's what music's about. And that's
absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree. And it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. And thank you it was my first ever podcast as well. So thank you so much.
Hey man, dude, my pleasure. I'm not too far into these. You did wonderful, as I'm like fidgeting with the capo here in one hand and a pen in another and shuffling around. So I get it, man. This is great, dude. This is so much fun. I'm going to end this thing. So give me 1 second. It's a 2-click process. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks for tuning in to the Guitar Gavel podcast, and a special thanks to Steve Kuykendall for composing this music and being such the great guy and friend that you are. As a reminder, hit the subscribe button and sign up for our twice weekly newsletter at guitargavel.com.